Hi there, I'm Cillian O'Dollig and welcome to the Online Academy of Irish Music. So in this lesson we're going to practice some basic drop D guitar accompaniment for the jig Jerry Beaver's Hat. I should say that for this is a beginner's course in drop D, though you would probably be advised to find yourself at a intermediate standard tuning guitar accompaniment level for you to gain most benefits from this course. So why don't we have a look at what we're going to do in this lesson. Okay, so there we had the tune, Jerry Beaver's Hat, and we are now going to break the tune down and we're just going to show you some of the chords and some of the techniques that I've used throughout the backing of that tune. So first and foremost, we'll go through the chords of the A part. So the chord that I'm using to start is just like a D major chord that you might be familiar with from standard guitar playing, but because we're in drop D, we'll have a lot of firsts and fifths ringing out, so D's and A notes ringing out. So I'm going to use my pinky and I'm going to apply them up here on the 5th fret as opposed to my middle finger on the 2nd fret on the high E string. And that then gives us another high A. So now we have 3 A's ringing through the chord, and then the other strings are actually all just D's. So all this chord consists of right now is D's and A notes. So that's chord number 1. It's just a nice ringing out chord to use in drop D, and we'll address this further down the line in the course as well throughout the other classes that will be about drop D. So that's our standard D chord that we'll use for now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a D chord first inversion, and what that means is that we're going to raise the bass from a D up to an F sharp. So we're going to the 3rd note of the chord. So we're going D with an F sharp in the bass, and I'm doing that by putting my 3rd finger on the 4th fret. Now you might find that your 3rd finger is muting this 2nd string here. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because if you've got a bass note here in the F sharp and another bass note ringing out in your A, they might be a little muddy together. So it's nice to maybe mute that 2nd string, that A string, with this finger. So we've got D with an F sharp in the bass. The next chord we're going to move to is G, which in drop D would look a little something like this. So what we've got going on here, because in standard the G bass note would usually be here, but this string is now down 2 semitones, so that will be pushed up to here. So that's our bass note in G. Then we're going to apply our pinky just directly underneath that, giving us a D note on that. We've got another D note after that, and then the last thing you need to do is cover your B string and your E string on the 3rd fret, giving you a D and a high G. Okay, so to recap from the start, we've got D with an F sharp in the bass, G, and then the last chord that I'm generally using in the A part is an A chord. You have choices. You can go here. Make sure your guitar is a little more in tune than mine. Alternatively, you can use an A chord down here if that's what you're more familiar with. Sometimes I like to just bar the 3rd, 4th and 5th strings, and then muting the high E with this same finger here. It's just a little easier for quick access. So the 4 chords that we're generally using are D, D with an F sharp in the bass, a G, and an A. And so we kind of cycle through those. So the pattern generally goes. So the pattern is pretty much the same twice through, except for on the 2nd time you will resolve to the D major chord a little sooner, so that you're landing on the D at the end of the tune as opposed to finishing that part on an A chord. Okay, so B part, the chords that we're using are D again, then we're cutting directly to a G, skipping the D with an F sharp in the bass. After that we're heading for a B minor chord, which in this instance will just be a standard B minor chord like you might be familiar from standard guitar tuning. There is a B minor chord later in the course that I'll be teaching you a little further up the neck, has a slightly different sound, but for now that B minor is just fine. And then we're going to go back to an A. Since we're here on the B minor chord, it's probably just as easy to come down here to the A chord here, as opposed to flying all the way up here. You want to be nice and conventional about your guitar playing as well, so that you don't need to be flying up and down. We're not trying to Jimi Hendrix this thing. So D, G, B minor, and A. And then in the 2nd part of the B part, it's pretty much the same thing again. After the G though, we go D with an F sharp, G, finish it off with an A, and then back to the D. So that's that quick little pattern at the end is the kind of resolve to the end of the B part. So I'll play that for you now in full. Quick pattern. Okay. The only other techniques that we've applied here and there throughout the playing of the tune is what I like to call pushes, where we strum the chord a little ahead of the beat of where it would be due. So that sounds, I'm going to just show you how that goes in the A part real quick. And I'll show you the standard measurement first, and then I'll show you how it sounds if you apply a push to it. So, sorry, we're going. Again. Now with the pushes. All right. And that's pretty much all of the chords and the techniques that we've applied. So we will now circle back around and we're going to play the tune slowly together in the last part of the course, or of this lesson, sorry. And then if you want to practice this tune with a playback track, I'll redirect you over to the OAIM website, where you will find pretty much any tune that has ever been covered in their courses, and you'll be able to choose the speeds you'd like to play along with, as well as whether you want the melody by itself, or you want accompaniment by itself, or you want the melody and the accompaniment together. So you can choose what you prefer to do there.
1, 2, 3, 4, 6.
So I hope you found that somewhat informative. In the next lesson, I'm going to be teaching you some of the standard chords that you might use when you're trying to back in drop D tuning. So this guitar course should be very useful for anybody who kind of comes from an intermediate standard tuning guitar level and wants to explore and broaden their horizons a little bit more into the world of drop D traditional Irish music guitar accompaniment. So by the end of the course, I'm hoping to have shown you some tricks and tips that might help you accompany jigs and reels in a variety of keys using capos and different chord sets and structures. So yeah, see you in the course, and for any more information, click this link.